are rumors around that this is Britain's revenge for the Boston Tea Party. 3,000 screaming teenagers are at New York's Kennedy Airport to greet, you guessed it, the Beatles.
And then I got a picture with the three of them.
So for a 17-year-old girl to be standing in between three of the Beatles...
It's indescribable.
The Beatles!
Close your eyes and I'll kiss you tomorrow.
Deeply envious of the fact that the Beatles had women hurling themselves out of buildings to try to land on them.
Brucey once hung out a hotel window to describe a Beatles arrival.
Here they come, the Beatles. There goes John, there's Paul, and George. There is Ringo. They are now definitely here.
October 9, 1940. As German warplanes bombed the port town of Liverpool, England, Julia Lennon gives birth to a baby boy. His name would be John Winston Lennon, and no one knew it yet, but he was going to change the world. John is raised by his aunt and uncle from the age of 5 after being taken away from his mother. His aunt made school first priority and was very strict with John. These first years of Lennon's life led to some of his struggles with anger and separation anxiety. After primary school, John really started to fall in love with music. He idolized rock and roll legends like Elvis Presley and would skip school to spend the day listening to music. By 1957, age 16, after almost failing out of school, he formed his first band with a childhood friend he called the Quarrymen. The Quarrymen would play small local gigs. After a few years with the Quarrymen, the band was finally getting some recognition. They had regular gigs at numerous bars and clubs and rapidly growing fan base. John decided with their newfound fame it was time for a name change. The group took inspiration from their favorite films and the rock and roll genre to make the Beatles. The Beatles played grueling hours in various clubs, becoming very popular amongst the German crowd. They were finally coming out of their shells on stage, yelling at the crowd, drinking on stage, and dancing around. Beatlemania had been born. March 22, 1963. Everyone was obsessed with the Beatles. Their fan base mania expanded all the way to the States. February 9, 1964, they traveled to perform in the Ed Sullivan Show and meet their crazy fans. They were greeted at JFK with thousands of screaming teenage girls with posters. They stormed America's Billboard list after the trip. By April, they owned the top 5 slots. Despite his immense success, John still found himself unfulfilled. He battled with the anxiety and anger issues that were a product of his childhood. Some say that the fame got to them, others blame it on Paul's anger. January 1969, the Beatles decided to take a break. It was a peaceful break. However, Lennon even said in 1969 in an interview, "I should have kept my mouth shut," referring to talking bad about Paul. They never came back together, however, because of another tragic event. December 8, 1980. Lennon and Yoko are heading back home to the Dakota from the studio. Lennon's driver swings open the car door, and John, followed by Yoko, head towards the entrance. Mark Chapman, standing outside the Dakota, gets on one knee, calls out Lennon's name, and points a revolver directly at him and pulls the trigger. John was pronounced dead at the hospital later that day. John Lennon, a man loved for decades and still loved to this day by thousands. A community built on music, love, and imagination mourned his death. The news swept a sea of heartache across the nation. Memorials were put together, fans comforted each other, and the world grieved. Today, fans young and old continue to mourn. One could not let the death of Lennon halt his blossoming legacy. This man's music, though he has passed, lived on in the hearts and souls of his fans. He lives on in speakers and in lyrics. This remarkable man left an incredible impact on the world, an impact no man or woman is ready to forget.